How's it going, Spartans? My name is First Strike Cosplay. Welcome to what is probably going to be the first video on my channel. Starting off with reaction content. I wanted to get into the reaction space and just in the YouTube space. I've had my adventures in Instagram and cosplay, and I wanted to stretch my legs a bit, so here we are. We're starting off with a lore video from Hidden Xperia. This is an older video from a while back. It's the lore behind the Flood combat forms. And this is not only a First Strike reacts, this is a Strike Team reacts. This is with my mom, Mama Strike. Mama Strike, say hello.
Hello, hello.
So we're going to get into the video, but Mom, you've kind of been with me through my Halo adventures for a long while, but you don't really know much of the nitty-gritty lore, do you?
I don't. I have loved listening to you talk about it and react to things that you see, and I inevitably ask you 8 million questions even when you're watching something new or something you've already watched or something you're listening to. I quite often stop you and interrupt and ask a million questions, so I thought this might be fun.
Yeah. And I'm glad she came along for it, so I appreciate it. But we're going to get into the combat forms. It's the second iteration of the Flood from their infection form. So we're going to start off there, and we're going to let Hidden X take the wheel, and we'll be pausing, and I'll be adding in information or answering questions along the way, and we'll go from there.
Hey guys, welcome back. To celebrate the Flood's return, and also the channel hitting 50,000 subscribers, which, by the way, holy shit, thank you.
This is 50,000 subscribers at the time of the video's recording, which I can actually, I didn't, when was, let's look real quick. Let's see, 8 years ago, oh my god. That's awesome. He's obviously at 623K now, but at the time was 50,000 subs, so good for him. Yeah, guys, definitely, if you haven't already, if you're watching my content, right now, I'm at time of recording, I don't think I even have like 10 subscribers, but if you haven't seen Hidden X yet, give him a watch. His content's amazing. Well, we're going to go send a pre-like here for him. He's awesome, but let's go ahead and get back into it.
That number is insane. I thought I'd make a mini-series of videos covering the lore behind all of the Flood forms, beginning today with the good old-fashioned combat forms. Also, thanks a bunch to all of you guys who signed up for the Audible free trial after the last video. I saw that a bunch of you did, so if you did, tweet me at Hidden Xperia on Twitter.
I might have actually started my Audible account from one of his videos, I think. I'm not 100%. Cool. I wish I could figure out what code I use. So if you know how to do that, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know. That way I can actually get a shout out to him for sure. But yeah, I have like the first 14 mainline Halo books on audio.
That's crazy.
And that's how I've learned most of my stuff.
How many, do you know how many books there are?
More than 14 now. I think there may be in 20 or more, and that's not counting comic books. So.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. With what Halo book you got. I honestly appreciate it so much. It helps me out more than you guys could ever imagine. And I hope you enjoy what you get for it. Reminder that it's audibletrial.com/hiddenxperia if you want a free Halo audiobook and also want to help me out. So, the three main types of combat form that we fought in the original trilogy were human, elite, and brute forms, all of which had different traits. But before we get into that, let's cover the actual process of infection. Of course, for a host to be infected, most of the time an infection form is needed, which I'm going to be covering in the next video. How it infects a host is that it enters the body, it takes control of their nervous system, and then begins to mutate their body using Flood supercells. Now, these cells act as undifferentiated cells that can be arranged to mimic any organ or body part that's needed at a given time. They also serve as the basis for the process of creating a Gravemind.
Yep, so I introduced you to the Gravemind in two ways. I introduced you to the Gravemind by showing you the actual Halo 2 Anniversary cutscene, which is what we have on screen right now. That's where the all of the major flood lines come from, like this cutscene right here. Like, I've listened through Sand and Rock and Time. That's the Gravemind. And then also, I gave you the treat of listening to the short story Halo Human Weakness, read by Jen Taylor,
Yeah,
which
that was
was
great.
Cortana's essentially 1v1 against the Gravemind.
As the host is being infected, internal organs are broken down and used to create the tentacles and other physical mutations that we see on a combat form. Similar to a common zombie, combat forms are actually able to spread the supercell to other victims by simply wounding them, making even contact with them extremely dangerous. Until the host has been completely infected by the supercell, the red antenna of an infection form sticks out the chest and acts as a sort of pseudo-nervous system, helping control the movements of the host.
That's also, and this is a frame of Keyes, Captain Keyes from Halo Combat Evolved when he got infected. I'm going to backtrack a little bit so we can just get a good look at that human combat form. So just like you said, so that's their nervous system right here, which is those tendrils. When they're the little like popcorn infection forms, the little poppy guys, these are what happens is it's explained more in the books in Halo the Flood when Private Jenkins is infected. Essentially, these wrap around and tap into your spinal cord, and it matches essentially your body's electromagnetics and wavelengths and synapses, and it matches and overrides it, and that's how it takes you over.
That's how it takes over. And I didn't notice on the other stuff I've seen that that's what it does with the head.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Just, like,
yeah, so right here technically is the
out.
chest. His head should be about there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his hand, like, this essentially used to be his arm right here. These are his bones that are ripped and forced into a new configuration.
No.
Yeah, it's not a good time.
That's disgusting.
He said, like, they're essentially zombies. Yes, but I don't think, like, there's like three or four types of, like, zombies in zombie media. It's actual zombies. It's infected, which is you're still alive, but you have something taking over your brain.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, the zombification where it infects dead bodies. This is a whole other class unto itself.
Yeah.
This is, you are being ridden like a meat mech.
Yes.
Your body is corrupted past the point of recognition, and you are along for the ride in the most horrific way possible.
Yeah, I definitely did not like that scene just before this when it was showing it taking over that guy in the back.
Yeah.
I was trying to not scream a little bit because it was really gross.
Yeah.
Helping control the movements of the host. When infected, some of the host's knowledge and also muscle memory is retained, which is why they're able to still fire weapons and interact with equipment, and in the very weird case of Halo 2, commandeer vehicles.
Yep.
I still find it very weird to this date seeing a Flood just sort of chilling in a Warthog. I don't know, it's always looked quite odd. Both living and dead hosts,
that's the
as we
infection
know,
form is
can
going
be
into the brute.
infected, and if a living host somehow isn't killed during the infection process, the infection form can retrieve vast amounts of information from their memory, which is how they're able to, like I said, utilize their muscle memory and use weaponry. Now, this can result in a fucking horrifying experience in some cases, where the infection form hasn't yet got total control over the host, like in the case of Jenkins from Combat Evolved.
Yep.
Jenkins
This is the scene I was
was
talking about.
infected and tried to commit suicide when he still maintained some autonomy to stop the pain, but didn't have enough control over his body to do so. The infection form regained control. If you want to read more about this, then I'd suggest reading The Flood. The infected Jenkins section gets honestly quite disturbing at some points, and
It is a type of body horror that very few people get the, I'm going to say, privilege to read. Because there's all this type of horror in just general media. There's just body horror, gore. I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube, but I want to say gore prawn. I think you can guess what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of gratuitous to be gratuitous. This is a level of horror that is on a scale that is just literally mind-bending.
Yeah.
Because not only is your body being taken over by this foreign object, this foreign actor, your mind is being torn and essentially harvested for material.
Right.
You know, we can see Jenkins on the screen here. I don't know if I need to blur this or not. We'll see. Maybe I'll put like a smiley face on it just in case. But it's, you know, you are fighting with this in the book in Halo the Flood. Jenkins calls it the other, and it's this primal, angry, hungry presence that is in your consciousness along with you.
Oh, no.
And it's like every sensation to the extreme. Extreme pain, extreme lust, extreme hunger, extreme everything. And it rides you until you are gone. And it's horrifying, to say the least. It's Lovecraftian in the most awful way possible.
Really nails home how scary and vile the Flood really are. People always question why the Flood is one of my favourite Halo novels, and that section right there is exactly why. It really
I gotta respect him for the double tap there. Did you catch that? Watch this
favourite
again.
Halo novels, and that
Kills
section
it,
right there.
double tap. You always double tap, and I respect this man for doing that job. He did an amazing job there. That was great.
Is exactly why. It really exacerbates how scary the Flood are. The overall process of infection is generally very fast. The flesh of the host is rapidly digested during infection, which is why combat forms look decayed and like yellowy and rotten. Something we've never seen in the games that I'd actually love to see at some point, however, is what happens to a combat form after they've been alive for a while. They gain the ability.
So we got brute combat forms down here, heads in different positions. You got this one mid-scream. You got these ones trying to fight it back.
And then you can see this guy's head.
And then, and that's a human. These are these 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all human combat forms. 1, 2, 3, 4, back there, and one more little infection form right there. So it goes from this into something like that, or into something as big as that. And the bigger and more powerful the host is, the more powerful the Flood is itself. So these brutes are powerhouses when you fight them.
To create infection forms and store them in their back, which can burst out like a carrier form. And also, if you've seen the new Alien movie, that might sound a little bit familiar. However, once the combat form has lived out its usefulness, it tends to get transformed into a carrier form anyway, or maybe gets used as biomass to form a great mind, one of the two. So that's probably one of the reasons we don't see this in game much. Okay, so let's move on to the different variants of combat form. The vast majority of organisms with a central nervous system are susceptible to Flood infection, but the reason you don't see many infected grunts or jackals, for example, is due to their weaker body structure. Also, the reason that hunters can't be infected is because they don't have a central nervous system.
That's why. I always wondered why. So yeah, they don't... Okay, so... TLDR on the hunters, which are known as, pushes my glasses up, Letgolo is what they're called. They're actually living hive mind colonies of worms.
Ew. What?
Yeah, so while there are multiple worms in just one individual, and they all work together to create one entity. There's no one central nervous system. They all work in tandem. And why there's always two is because one hive of Letgolo worms can't fit into one suit of armor. So they split them in two, and they're called bond brothers.
That's gross.
Yeah.
And the reason that drones can't be infected is due to a serious lack of calcium in their exoskeleton. However, the three most common types of combat form, in the original trilogy at least, that we saw were human, elite, and brute forms. So let's begin with human forms. So because the average height and body size of a human is significantly small...
Can we just also appreciate Bungie for, like, the idle animations for these guys?
Oh, yeah.
Just watch while he's talking, but, like, the head is moving and undulating, the mouth is gnashing, like... It just adds more to the just existential dread of watching these, because this was an individual. This was a human on the front lines of the Human Covenant War, fighting against these guys in the back to save humanity.
Right.
Then he got infected and turned into the hive mind. Like, well, he or she doesn't really, you can't really tell too much, but still.
Smaller. These combat forms are smaller and also thinner than the rest, which does make them weaker. However, these also provide some advantages. For example, the smaller size makes it extremely agile, while also giving a smaller center mass, which is where the infection form is located, which is like right in the chest. This makes it harder to kill them efficiently. They also have a faster melee attack, which combined with their smaller profile and heightened agility makes them pretty damn deadly in close quarters combat. Moving on to the elite combat form, and it has a unique
Notice anything extra horrifying about this? The dude's head is facing his back.
Oh, but why?
Because it bursted out of his neck.
That's gross.
Yeah.
trait that the other two types of combat form don't have, the ability to utilize the elite's armor utilities. Now, because the combat harness of an elite isn't totally destroyed during infection, more so damaged and sort of moved aside, some combat forms are able to utilize their active camo modules, or even their energy shields. This gives them artificial agility and strength, which, on top of their already existing strengths, makes them quite a tough target.
Can you imagine that? Like, let's just take this scene from example. You're Chief, you're walking through the armory, you're seeing dead bodies left and right. You see a shimmer in the inky black of the dark, and it scuttles to the right.
Yeah, no.
It scuttles to the left. You move through, and this amorphous mass of bent light starts smacking at you, and you start shooting it, and a freaking elite coated in active camouflage is just wailing on you. It is...
Nope.
Okay, so the Brute combat form also offers some pretty unique differences. Because it retains most of its host traits, it remains as aggressive as a regular Brute. This is why its most common attack is to charge its enemies, which is very similar to what a Brute does when it goes berserk. However, due to its bulkiness and weight, it moves much slower than human and elite forms. Also, because Brute power armor covers a majority of the body, no Brute at least has ever been seen infected without having its armor totally destroyed. So it's unknown whether the infection form could maybe utilize the armor's abilities like with an elite. Maybe it could even use equipment, such as the invulnerability module in Halo 3. Now, holy shit, if you give that to a Brute combat form that has a rocket launcher, no, please. Okay, 343, please never do that.
Luckily, to this date, they haven't.
I
But
was
that
gonna
would
say,
be really good.
That would have been great if they did it, and we're like, we'd like to thank Hidden Xperia for this great idea.
Don't put that evil on his head next. Don't you dare put that evil on us.
No, we love him. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It would have been like, oh, no.
Yeah, that'd be horrifying. But, yeah, to date, in at least the lore I've read so far that I can remember, there has not been a invincible Brute Chieftain flood. That'd be awful.
The odd thing about the Brute combat form is that the infection form doesn't bury...
Oh, I just realized something really horrible. This is the top of the Brute skull here, and top jaw. This is the bottom jaw.
itself center mass in the Brute's chest. Rather, it goes inside its jaw, which stretches its mouth open, which leaves it with this really horrifying scream-like expression. Also worth noting is a combat form that sadly we'll likely never see, the Forerunner combat form. Now, this has only ever been described in Defender of the Storm, which, by the way, is a fantastic mini-story from Halo Fractures. Now, in this story, their appearance was described as being basically what we would expect from a combat form, very similar to the ones that we know. Rotten flesh with long limbs and pieces of the host's armor sticking off the body. Now, I'm still dreaming for a game about the Forerunner Flood War. One day. Please, 343, one day. So, that's it for the combat forms, and that's it for today. In the next video, we're going to be covering the lore behind what I've sort of called the Infector forms. And then, the video after that, we're going to be finishing off this little Flood lore mini-series, unnamed thing, by looking at the Pure forms. So, thanks again, guys, for 50,000. That number is honestly insane. The 100k dream is actually getting really, really fucking close right now.
Little did he know that just a few years later he'd be at over 600,000
Yeah, that's
active
great.
viewers. Good for him.
Now, something that if you told me a few years ago would have happened, I'd be laughing because I just wouldn't be believing it. So again, guys, thanks a lot for that. I really, really appreciate it. Also, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
See you later, Hit Next. That was awesome. I knew a lot of that kind of just basic from like when I first read and listened to Halo Flood, and the other novels that have the Flood in it. But yeah, that's your those are the combat forms.
They're all scary because I'm a big chicken and I'm afraid of everything, but those are the not the worst, but it's all bad. But on the brute, how the top of his head was like widening like a lot.
This,
It
yeah.
reminds me of those like plastic, like real rubbery, like dinosaur toys or whatever that you
Yeah.
like put your hand in and stretch their face out.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, that.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's gross.
Yeah. It's disgusting in the best way possible.
But really, really freaking beautiful artwork.
Oh yeah, Bungie. There's a lot that can be said about Bungie's run with Halo and how they really set the standard not only for a Halo game but for gaming in general and just the art direction alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am luckily the proud owner of a Halo encyclopedia, and it's so cool to see that art and so cool to see it all. And it's cool to see 343's additions to it too. But I'm a sucker for old school Halo, man, and nothing is going to be scarier to me than walking into a room and seeing a combat form look at me in the face trying to eat my friggin' giblets. But I think, guys, that's gonna do it for us for this first video. I think we're gonna call this series Fireteam Strike Reacts, or Strike Team Reacts, something like that. My special guest today was again my mom. She's awesome, and we love her here in this house. Well, firstly, again, thank you again to Hidden Xperia for this amazing content. Check him out. All of his links are here for you. I'll have it in my description below as well. Yeah, he's titan of Halo content.
Yeah, that's cool.
You can find me here at First Strike Cosplay on YouTube and on Instagram and also on Twitch. I'm working on things for that later. But yeah, thanks Spartans for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Goodbye.